Hello, my friends. Today I wanted to read to you from one of my own books. This one, A Fish in Water Athirst, The Globe-Trotting Adventures of a Meditating Angler and Diver by me, Mario Caputo. This one now has been, there's a second edition that's coming out, and I've been able to publish it with a publishing house, though I may go and self-publish it a second time with the new edition. We'll see. But I wanted to read to you from here and first give you a little bit of a biographical background about not only the connection between diving and meditation, which is quite a bit deeper than you might imagine. I suppose some people have been watching some of these documentaries on free diving and some of the practices, the breath work practices, the meditation practices, the mental preparation practices that many free divers do utilize, and those are things that I've used myself, and especially the Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga is a meditation form that includes physical postures, it includes breath work, it includes a very advanced pranayama, which is life force control, which is a healing technique. And it's something that was employed both by Jesus Christ and Krishna, also by Buddha, by Patanjali, by very many others in this process of diving deeper through meditation to not only improve our sense of well-being, but also to take our prayer life much deeper. This is a very interesting point that Yogananda, who's the father of the West, father of yoga in the West, and he tells us that if we really want to be heard and if we want to have a response from the beloved who seems often um, to have taken a vow of silence, if we want God to break his vow of silence, then we have to learn to really go deep in meditation before we pray. And why should that be? Because then our mind is very, very focused and very, very calm. And those are necessary things, focus and calm, to really reach into that sphere where the beloved abides. So this is the essence of yogic philosophy, yogic meditation, and it's something I was introduced to in my teens. In my about 15, 16, I started at the local community college, and I was studying biological sciences. I later changed that to fine arts, and I got a degree in fine arts. Then I went back and got a degree after living for a while as a monk. I got a degree in biological sciences, finished that, and then I started a degree, a Master in Fine Arts program around the same time, which I didn't end up finishing, but I became very interested in writing and ended up with 14 manuscripts, which I'm beginning to monetize through this site, my YouTube. So if you have any interest in these kinds of things, please follow, subscribe, and see how this continues to evolve. My music and literature site is about to break 37 million views, and this one I hope to be able to carry just as far or further. So a little bit more about why I got into, at the time I started biological science studies at the community college at 16. I was also reading Meister Eckhart and I think Teresa of Avila, and then somebody gave me a copy of Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yoganandaji. I was very interested in the mystical traditions and what it was that made the mind possible. What is it that made us capable of thinking and thinking critically about identity and spirit? So these were things that I was very concerned about even in my teens, at least my late teens, mid-teens, and they were things that began to propel me on this path of really deep adventure, I think, not only in diving, but diving deep into the core of the self, the absolute Mahatma, the great self, the or Mahasaya, the great mind. So with that in mind, with those few preparatory sketches, let's go ahead and take a look at one particularly poignant, at least in the context of what we've been talking about, chapter where we are introduced to Kriya Yoga and it relating to diving. This one is called A Deep Down Star, and again, it comes from my book of Fish and Water Athirst. My longest swim offshore culminated in a deep dive one afternoon as I practiced the prayer of the heart, a yogic, yoga from the Sanskrit literally means divine union, meditation, which is closely allied to today's most popular forms of meditation, including self-inquiry, loving-kindness, zazen, vipassana, and kriya yoga. Having carefully practiced each of these techniques, I chose to specialize in kriya about a decade ago, having found it the most balanced, powerful, and universal. I began my long swim just watching the reef life while I practiced the Jesus prayer, my mantra. As I went along, I became more and more absorbed in the prayer and in the little drama I saw playing out below me in the sand and coral. After about an hour, I found I had come out farther than ever. The sea was crystal clear below me. The bottom only appeared to be about 10 feet deep. I would learn later that this optical illusion was the result of the water's clarity and the flatness of the sand far, far below. A few boats zoomed by. This was Waikiki, after all. But for the most part, my world was silent, except for the Pacific sounds of laughing, snorkeled waves. Having come at least 3/4 of a mile offshore, I decided to test the depth. Treading water slowly, breathing deeply, I prepared for a dive. After a while, a police boat motored up to let me know I was too far from home. "One more dive," I said in a commanding voice. The boys in blue stopped shouting and motored off. I had plunged all the way to the bottom a few times that afternoon as I made my way offshore, and had gone deeper than 15 meters. The water below was about twice that depth, I knew. I had brought a hand line with me to test the depth. I dropped the lead down, 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 until it penetrated into the sugar-colored sand. I held the line at the middle of the wave crests, which were about 2 meters in height. Marking the depth with a bobber, I stored the plumb line in my pocket so that I could make an accurate measurement when I returned to my apartment. I had dived once and failed to reach the bottom. Nonetheless, I had gone deep enough to notice a huge starfish resting on the fine sand in the middle of an expansive aquamarine flat. The water was clear enough that I could make out the markings of that large starfish from the surface. I centered myself over the top of the lonely star, and as the last boat disappeared toward Diamond Head and civilization, I took several deep breaths while praying my prayer rhythmically, "Jesus, I trust in you." I practiced like that for several minutes until I knew intuitively and yogically that I had absorbed a sufficient amount of oxygen and prana into my bloodstream to make it to the bottom and back. I shot down quickly, kicking with both fins and pulling with both arms. Clearing my ears at about 20 feet, I continued along till I was halfway to the bottom. I cleared my ears again and then pulled myself deeper, as much by pure willpower as by the thrust of my fins. Now, as deep as I'd ever been, I could feel the pressure of atmospheres on my ears and lungs, and I focused my whole being on the starfish just ahead. Somehow I knew I would be able to reach it. My ears felt a lot of pressure again, but I knew that if I cleared them one last time, I would lose too much air. I decided to keep rushing forward. Sprinting the last stretch, I struck the bottom with my hand and grabbed the starfish triumphantly. Quickly, I spun around, placing my feet on the sandy bottom. I kicked off hard. A billow of fine sand followed me for several seconds as I shot fast toward light and air. My lungs were burning. Soon I knew I would be able to break through the rumbling waves. I pulled hard with one hand and kicked with both fins. As I moved toward the light, the pressure on my lungs, ears, and frame gradually dissolved. I was hungry for air. Finally, my head broke through the luminous surface and I inhaled deeply. Feeling great relief, I pulled the large starfish out of the water, admiring its simple geometry in shimmering shades of wet gold. It is worth noting here that Kriya yogis learn to visualize a star shape during meditation as they draw prana up into the highest chakras, especially the Agya chakra or third eye gate of intuition. Gradually, advanced yogis learn the secrets of the meditation masters, as they gain the power to pierce the five-pointed star of the Agya chakra and transcendental ecstasy, samadhi, divine union. For a liberated yogi, this process becomes routine, perpetual. Yogananda's Kriya Yoga brings peace, prosperity, and healing power through its dutiful and proper practice. Now that I was at the surface, I thought of the star shape I had learned to visualize in meditation, and holding my starfish, I prayed a silent prayer of praise and thanksgiving as I watched the broad sea stretch out before me in all directions. The sound of the waves became a quiet mantra as I gently released the star back into the clean, cool depths. From the surface, I watched with some awe as my starfish spun, sinking slowly toward the sand. Smiling as it sank, I saw it kiss the sand, giving off a tiny puff of silt. The star had been the sole witness of my success, and I felt as free as it appeared to be where it lay dreaming deep dreams upon the ancient and pure Pacific sands. I had come a long, long way for that little star of wonders. Back at the apartment, I measured my line, discovering I had broken my personal record by about 10 meters, and I had done it solo after a long swim. I was glad that I had been able to use my yogic prayer to move fluidly and confidently in the deeps. Lord of love, you are the dear friend of all souls. Your actions are all full of grace, a grace which liberates and empowers us. You are the sole power that guides us in the adventure of life. In the sea of your sacred presence we abide, all stars. So there's one chapter from my book, A Fish in Water Athirst, The Globe-Trotting Adventures of a Meditating Angler and Diver by Mario Caputo. Look for the second edition to be coming out in the next couple of months. And I wanted to close with a scientific healing affirmation by Paramahansa Yoganandaji, and also one quick poem from the beginning of this beautiful booklet of his, The Law of Success. The Garden of the New Year. The echoes of last year, its sorrow and laughter have died away. The song voice of the new year, encouraging, hope imparting, is chanting, refashion life ideally. Abandon the weeds of old worries from the forsaken garden of the past, garner only seeds of joys and achievements, hopes, good actions and thoughts, all noble desires. Sow in the fresh soil of each new day those valiant seeds, water and tend them until your life is fragrant with rare flowering qualities. The new year whispers, awaken your habit-dulled spirit to zestful new effort. Rest not till the eternal freedom is won, and ever-pursuing karma outwitted. With joy enlivened, unendingly united mind, let us all dance forward hand in hand to reach the halcyon home from whence we wander no more. And from the first page, he is the wisest who seeks God. He is the most successful who has found God. He is the wisest who seeks God. He is the most successful who finds God. And from one of the pages there, we have this particular affirmation. I will purify my mind with the thought that God is guiding my every activity. Blessings. I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe and like this channel and this video. Look for more soon.